another PS2 game, sort of a dark horse game that came out that year, was Shadow of the Colossus.
You ride a horse in that game. But he's a real nice horse.
Yeah,
But he's not dark, though.
No, he passes away at one point, but he comes back.
Spoilers.
Oh, yeah, spoilers.
I said he comes back.
Marty, what makes Shadow of the Colossus so special that it's a game we're still talking about a decade later?
Well, first off, Team Eco still hasn't made a game since then in 10 years. It is special because it takes what they did with the original Eco, which was this really gorgeous, painterly, methodical show don't tell sort of story, and it adds a massive sense of awe and wonder to it. I just love the fact that this game begins and you're this nameless dude on a horse, and you have this sleeping princess who might be dead, and you don't know if this is a love interest or your sister or what's going on. And like you said, like the audacity of something with God of War, like this game, the only mission of this game is to find these 16 beasts that aren't really doing anything aside from just existing and chilling. And you just have to murder each one. And you just have to literally kill each one, and you're sort of like this
it's like
evil
a puzzle to figure it out how to beat each one.
Yeah, and the sense of scale and scope, and the fact that you're climbing on its back and grabbing its hair and stabbing it in the eyeball.
I love the kind of story decision or design decision that these colossi aren't like wrecking up villages or like killing people or stomping on things. Like some of them are literally asleep.
Yeah.
And then like you pick a fight with them, and then it like, if you're playing the game just sort of mindlessly, you wouldn't think about it. But if you stop and take a step back, you're like, am I the bad guy?
That's the question by the end, too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's what the game is challenging you to ask yourself. And it's like this real subversion of the Zelda tropes, right? It takes everything about those. It has the same general world if you take a step back, but everything you do is the opposite of what you would do in Zelda. And I think for a really long time, I mean, less so in recent years, but that was the game, if you were talking about video games as art, that you would point to. You would like, this is challenging storytelling and innovative storytelling and just beautiful. And I think that's why it's still beautiful. You know, the graphics might not be as amazing as they were when they come out, but if you go back and play that game, you'll have that same emotional experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the games that I'm super glad did get an HD re-release. Pick it up, it fixes some of the few problems that the original did have with frame rate and some of the rest of it. Fantastic way to experience Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why The Last Guardian has so much hype around it, is because it's like, you guys are 2 for 2, like, we're still waiting. You know.
We actually, I mean, the last thing I would say about that is I really like to put a premium on games that do something new.
Sure.
And that game, nothing, there've been games with big bosses before, but like you said, climbing on their back and just that sense of scale and the huge, like sometimes they stand up and you realize that they just tower above you. Nothing had ever felt like that, and nothing's felt like that since, except for games that are, deliberately trying to ape Shadow of the Colossus. Like it really kind of stands on its own, on a pillar.